and transitioning from export to Azure Data Lake to Synapse Link. Today's topic is exploring Lakehouse architecture. My name is Rich Black, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events, so thank you for your patience during these announcements. It's my pleasure today to introduce our presenters, including Jilla Yadav, Principal Solution Architect, Stephen Kalpins, Senior Solution Architect, Melinda Vitharana, Principal Product Manager, Aman Nain, Senior Solution Architect, and myself, Senior Solution Architect. So let's get started. Now, first, a reminder that this is a series of tech talks. In previous sessions, which are available on the Dynamics Community Tech Talks page, we covered Synapse Link for Dataverse in an overview. In the second session, we discussed architecture patterns and virtual data warehousing, in which we explored various different patterns, and we got started with virtual data warehousing using Synapse Link for Dataverse. In the third session, we explored cloud data warehousing and ingesting data from the lake to cloud warehouses and transforming data using T-SQL and the concept of incremental data ingestion. Today's topic is exploring Lakehouse architecture, in which we're going to be reading and transforming data using Spark notebooks. Now, for each of these sessions, you can use the https://aka.ms. In addition to Synapse Link videos, you can use this link to access additional content and demonstrations on each of these topics. So today is the 28th of November here, and we'll be exploring the Lakehouse architecture. Now, to put this in a little bit of context before we dive into today's agenda, the focus is on transitioning from export to Azure Data Lake to Synapse Link. So if you're already using export to Azure Data Lake today, this is intended to help you navigate the series of tech talks that I just described. If you're interested in upgrading to Synapse Link and an overview, of course, the first tech talk is the best place to get started. If in your use of export to Azure Data Lake, you are working with tables and virtual data warehousing, then tech talk number 2 is going to be definitely of interest to you. And if you're working with the change feed today in export to Azure Data Lake and incrementally ingesting data into a cloud data warehouse, then the most recent tech talk number 3 is going to explain how that can be accomplished today using Synapse Link. Now, today's talk, we're going to focus on using Synapse and Microsoft Fabric using Lakehouse architecture. Some of you may already be using the Lakehouse architecture or medallion architecture, and that's going to be the focus of today's tech talk. So let's take a look at the agenda for today. First, we're going to recap the material that we've covered so far very briefly, and then we're going to review today's architecture pattern and some basic transition guidance. We're going to then take a deep dive into Lakehouse architecture with Synapse Link and explore the link to Microsoft Fabric. And through this, we'll have step-by-step demonstrations, and we'll save time at the end for Q&A. So let me go ahead and pass it over to Melinda, who is going to recap our previous sessions.
Thank you, Rich. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. So let's quickly recap, where we are. Upgrading to Synapse Link, what that means. We're not going to probably go deep into business benefits, effort timelines. Those are covered in overview session, Tech Talk 1. So you might be familiar with export to data lake feature built into finance and operations, or the Synapse Link feature built into powerapp's Dataverse. So essentially what these services let you do is to export data in case of export to Data Lake from finance and operations applications, in case of Synapse Link from Dynamics CE applications to your own storage account. Now, these services make it really easy for you to work with your data in Synapse. So you can go into Synapse workspaces, work with that data in Spark SQL, as well as create reports with Power BI. So essentially, we are today, these products have 2 different experiences. Now, if you are I think you are familiar with our Dynamics unification roadmap. Essentially, we are unifying these products together. And as a step in that exercise, we have unified the insights, the analytics experience across all Dynamics products. So essentially what we have done is we have built the ability to work with FNO data as well as CE data within Synapse Link for Dataverse. So essentially, export to Data Lake and Synapse Link to Dataverse becomes just one experience. You can work with all your Dynamics data in Synapse as well as Power BI. Now, this is just the beginning. Once you unify the left-hand side, Microsoft Fabric is an experience that actually makes it really easy to work with Synapse Analytics and Power BI. Essentially, you can think of Fabric as the evolution or the next generation Synapse and Power BI all combined into a software as a service experience in the cloud. So by upgrading to Synapse Link, essentially you are making it super easy to leverage all the innovations, AI-driven insights, how you can act, how you can work with non-business data. You make it super easy to work with your data using Fabric. So let's talk a little bit about the journey. So let's start on the left-hand side. Today, you might be using, one of these services. You might be using Bring Your Own Database, BYOT. You may be using DES, or you might be using Export to Data Lake. So the first step is to upgrade to Synapse Link. Now, Synapse Link with FNO data is generally available. It was generally available from September. Essentially, when you do upgrade, you can look forward to a lot of cost reductions. So the integration gets a lot simpler, less skills needed to maintain it, manage it, as well as we've discussed in our first session, you can look forward to a lot of reductions in cost, the end-to-end operating costs. And the good news is the data shapes remain the same. So you may have, dozens, hundreds, if not, many reports that are already in production with FNO data. You may have hundreds, if not thousands of users already using these reports. But because the data shapes are the same, the transition should not be hard. So once you do upgrade to Synapse Link, your upgrade effort should be less. At the same time, you can look forward to a reduction in cost of ownership. But the greatest thing is now your step to Microsoft Fabric becomes a whole lot easier. Once you enabled your production reports to use Synapse Link, now you can look forward to enabling new scenarios like taking low-code insights, action, using some of the features built into Fabric. So I think today's session is all about leveraging Fabric, but the point of our discussion was all about all the great things that you can look forward to when you upgrade to Synapse Link, so you can derive the benefits of Fabric as well as the cloud data warehouses. So with that, Rich, I would like to hand you over to Aman.
Thank you, Melinda. Hi, everyone. I'm Aman Nain from the Fast Track team, and today I will talk about how to implement this Lakehouse pattern, show you a demo using both Azure Synapse and Fabric. And while I talk about this Lakehouse pattern, all the benefits that Melinda just talked about, it should become very apparent why Lakehouse pattern is so popular. So let's talk about what we have seen so far. And we have had some tech talks in the past as well, where we did talk about Lakehouse pattern, and those are available in our GitHub as architecture patterns. But basically, what is a Lakehouse? So just a recap, Lakehouse is a pattern which combines data lakes with data warehouses and gives you the best of both. Storage of data lakes, which stores, as Melinda said, structured and unstructured data, and the benefit of the structure of data warehouses, which is basically facts and DIMS tables. And in this slide, as you can see, in export to data lake, you got this data from Dynamics in a CSV format, and then you needed these pipelines, these tools, CTM utils to then convert it to a Delta format and then do further conversions to silver and gold. Now, this will become much simpler, and I'll show you in a bit, but just staying on this slide, I do also want to mention this medallion architecture, this word that's being used today, which is basically the three medals, bronze, silver, and gold, as you can see in this slide as well. So implementing medallion with lakehouses has really become very, very popular for analytics projects generally. And why it's popular? Because it's clearly understood. It's a simple to understand structure, and it is easy to explain to your colleagues. You know what to expect when you tell your colleague that hey, this is our silver table and this is our gold table. So what is a silver and what is a gold? But first, bronze. Bronze is your raw extracted data. You get this data, maybe hundreds of tables, thousands of columns, probably in a CSV format, and needs a lot of processing. So that's bronze. Then silver is, you start trusting it a bit, you start refining it a bit, you convert it to a delta format, and you start bringing joins, simple joins, and you have something which is ready for your data engineering teams, for data science, for machine learning. And you can also build some operational near real-time reports on top of it. And then there is gold, which is a more analytics friendly. Maybe you've done some aggregates and it's ready for analytics. So that's medallion architecture. I hope that's understood. And let's go to the next slide, please, Rich. Now with Synapse Link, you can see in this slide, things are becoming much, much simpler, much decluttered, and implementing a Lakehouse is easier. The same medallion architecture, but we have already done some work for you. The data is already in a ready to consume delta format. So you get silver and then you can take it to gold. And I think at this point, it's best to show a demo. You can see on my screen, I have a sample notebook already open. And what I want to show is Lakehouses with Synapse Link, how easy it is to implement them, and bring all the goodness of medallion architectures using Azure Synapse. And using this PySpark code, which is also very, very popular for big data processing. So in my example today, I have data from Dynamics products tables and customers table, and also from Dataverses, and I'm going to refine it further and in this notebook and save as silver and gold tables and make it ready for our Power BI. You will see all of this today. And if you already are used to these notebooks and you have data from export to data lake, you will notice that there are not many changes. And that's the important bit. We have, as I said, done the hard bit for you. We have done the delta conversion, but everything else, if you already have these similar notebooks, you're doing similar transformations, data shapes, they almost remain the same. So if I go down in my first snippet, I'm basically bringing items and products. So in this case, I have this path to a storage, and I'm pointing it to an event table partitioned in a delta lake. So it's already in our Synapse Link delta format. I'm bringing in the inventory data. I'm telling it the format delta, and I'm displaying in a data frame the top 10 results. And likewise, if I go down, I'm doing a similar thing for EcoRest product table from our Dynamics Finance, and it's already in a Delta Lake folder. So it is apparent, it is clear that, the first benefit of Synapse Link is you get this data converted. You no longer dealing with CSV files. The platform is doing the conversion, and I have this another notebook open in the past where I used to get similar data in a CSV format, and then I had to do this conversion, get the CSV and get it converted to a delta format. So that's already done. What this means is you're no longer dealing with CATM util. You don't have to change much in your scripting, and everything else, your ETL can almost remain the same. Now, second benefit of Synapse Link that we'll talk about is you have one workspace where you are getting data not only from Dynamics Finance, but also Dataverse. So you get to see them together in your data lake. You get to bring them together and work with them together in this Synapse workspace, and then take it further, store it in your lake databases, take it to Fabric, and everything else. So what that allows us to do is create joins and data mashups very easily. And let me show you how data from contacts table from Dataverse and customers from finance is easily getting combined. So this notebook has all this code and we'll share it with you. But for this demo, let me just quickly jump to code snippet location, this one. So where I'm using similar code, I'm getting a contact table. And it's already in delta format. I read the contacts, And just let me show you guys the storage. So the storage, as I said, with Synapse Link, it's storing already all these tables. So it doesn't really matter where the data is coming from. I'm getting from Dataverse contact table. I'm also getting from customers, from finance. So you see them together. I get contacts, I get customers, and I can then easily combine them. I'm choosing what I'm interested in. And then in this code snippet, I'm creating a easy to use view on top of these data frames, and I'm calling the SQL code, and I'm making these joins. Very easy. I have a unified data frame that has everything that I need from Dataverse, things like maybe country, phone, email, contact related, address related data, but also financial data. Maybe you're interested in payment terms and credit limits for your customers. You're getting that from Dynamics Finance, and you get to join them together and take it directly to your operational reports in your silver format. So that's one benefit. Let's talk about analytical reporting. I mean, you can take this further, right? With this code, as you can see, it's easy to use this code. It's not that hard. By Spark, you can do further. You can do aggregations. You can do group bys and sorting. So if I go and jump to another code snippet, I have a similar data frame for my customers, and I do these group bys. I do this sorting, and I store it in a format that may be used for some kind of a report. And, you can call this a cold table. It's ready. It's for analytics. It's doing aggregation. You can use it to show maybe weekly KPIs, weekly trends, what's happening, right? So that's your analytical reporting. And then likewise, gold may also mean star schemas, your facts and dimensional tables. And we already saw how easy it is to call SQL code. I'm getting data from EcoRes product, from inventory tables. Likewise, for customers, you might be getting logistics locations and DIR party tables, to all those tables that you need to create a meaningful join. So let me show you another example. I'm calling all these tables in Dynamics Finance that we are interested when we talk about customers, and you can call this SQL code, create those joins, and this data then easily can become your dimensional table for your customers. So you create a view if you are interested, and then you call this code and store it again in Delta format, and save as a lake database as a customer dimensional table. Very easy to do that. And let me show you what this code snippet is doing for us. It's storing it in another folder called Gold Serverless. Or in my case, this is my data warehouse, and I'm storing all these dimensional and fact tables. So it's so easy to create a data warehouse. But at the end of the day, if you go under these, they are again Delta format, very analytical friendly. They're all files. And this is the concept of your lake databases. It's implemented like this with one line of code. And likewise, you can create, if I go down, dimensional tables, and then likewise, you could be bringing your sales data and then storing them as fact tables. So that's your fact table. So that's your star schema, guys. And let me talk about visualization. So let me show you also what Fabric can do for you. So this is our Fabric workspace, and you're getting all the benefits of not just data warehouses and data engineering from Azure Synapse. You're combining with Power BI as well. And what I did? I got the same 3 tables, customers, products, and retail, in Fabric. And mind you, I'm not copying them. They are pointing to the same folder location, and JJ will talk about it, but you're basically creating shortcuts. The same storage is now getting surfaced in this Fabric, which is one unified data platform, builds on all the greatness of Synapse and Power BI, and you're accessing it in one workspace. So no more expensive and time-consuming data duplication, data copying. You're seeing everything in one place. And I have another notebook open where I basically, just to show you guys how easy it is to use these notebooks and create machine learning, create data science. You get this sales data from your customers, and you could do exploratory analysis, see these different features, different aspects of your data, and then do machine learning, do some prediction. that's that. And then let's talk about Power BI. I take the same three tables, same models that I have, products, customers, and retail sales. I could show them in a Power BI app, but why to use Power BI? You can do the same in Fabric as well. So I'm taking the same report in Fabric, and you can build your Power BI reports. So all in all, what I showed you today is Lakehouse pattern. Why it is so popular? Why is it so easy to understand, to implement, to communicate? You get the benefits of so many things: bronze, silver, gold medal in architecture, use of these Spark, very powerful notebooks, storage of data lakes, and with Synapse Link, you get to combine all of this together. Whether it's Dynamics Finance, Dynamics Dataverse, you get to combine them. And so much more benefits over export to data lake or BYOD, and Fabric then takes it even one step further and brings even more capabilities in one workspace. So that was it, guys. Thank you. And now over to you, JJ.
So let me start with link to Fabric. As Aman pointed out, the link to Fabric is the next evolution. So you can easily upgrade from export to data lake using the Synapse link. But the link to Fabric provide a even better path going forward, because the Fabric, is a kind of a SaaS platform to do all the things: data warehousing, data engineering, reporting, and everything, right? So, by the way, I mean, if you're not aware, like Fabric got GA just last week, 2 weeks back in the Ignite conference. So everything what we are showing here is GA from the Fabric perspective as well. So what we are going to show here is, how you can use the same Synapse link concepts. So far in the last 4 demos, we have been focusing more on the Synapse link part. Now let's focus a little bit on the Fabric link part, and show how easy it is to link your same environment, same capabilities, same tables with the Fabric, and then use the Fabric tools in data engineering, data warehousing, and all those tools to bring to build the entire data platform. One of the other things we will also do is like how you can utilize the data from other systems, legacy systems, Dynamics AX, or other systems, in the Fabric, and then combine the data sets in the Fabric, and then build the reporting on top of it. So we'll do demo just like we have been doing so far. So right now I'm in the Maker portal where we have set up the Synapse link, right? So you go to set up the Synapse link, you click here as your Synapse link, and then it's set up. To set up the Fabric link, you need to just go on the tables folder first. On the Maker portal, you go to the tables, click Analyze, and click Link to Microsoft Fabric. This basically bring a setup wizard. This is a new experience which got GA during the Ignite. This basically simplify the process of linking the your Dataverse environment. And this is not just the Dataverse tables, but the FNO tables as well. So you basically, once you have the access to, it will validate your access and other Fabric capacities. And, you just copy the current URL, save connection. And this next screen, you are basically going to be presented with selecting a Fabric workspace. If you already have a workspace, you can select that. If you want to create a new one, you can also do that, right? So I already have a workspace, and I selected that and click create, and next. This is basically going to, all the tables which are there into Dataverse are going to be automatically enabled. So it's a very simple experience to replicate all your Dataverse tables, which has row version change tracking on or change tracking on, enabled for Fabric links. So data get initialized and then kept up to date by the Fabric. You don't have to bring any data lake, any Spark pool. As you can see, this is all taken care by the Dataverse engine. So as Melinda pointed out, in the initial conversations, that the Fabric link is simplifying it even further. So I have already done this for an environment where I have this. Once you do this, and if you go back to set up this, and then go back to the Azure Synapse link tab, you will see here a option of Microsoft OneLake. So when you click on this Microsoft OneLake, you will see that all the tables which you have there are already there. For finance and operations tables, you can also see that, you click on the manage tables and you will see the option of the D365 finance and operations. And here you will see the same tables which you have been selecting with the Synapse link, right? So Fabric link also now supports FNO tables. So you can add all the FNO tables and FNO entities into the Fabric link, and it will get replicated, in the Dataverse. Now, so this is the kind of setup experience of the Fabric link. How easy it is to set up the Fabric link with the Dataverse, right? Now let's go and look at how it shows up, this Fabric link into the Fabric. So you can also click, there is a button right here, which will take you to the Fabric directly. So let me go there. So view in Microsoft Fabric, you click this link. It's basically taking you to the Fabric and workspace where all these things is there. I'm already there. So what I have done here is, this is the Lakehouse, which I have set up this. So Contoso Enterprise Lakehouse. You can see this, there is a Lakehouse created by this Fabric link. And this Lakehouse has, a name of my environment. And all the tables which I have selected from FNO or Dataverse are already there as a shortcut. So data is not moving to Fabric. Data is kept into the Dataverse, and a shortcut is created in this Lakehouse. I'll show you that. What other things you can do in the Fabric? I think that's where I wanted to kind of go further. It's not just dynamics data, right? You want to, when you're building the BI and reporting solutions, you want to get the data from other sources, legacy systems, your legacy ERP data, and your other systems data. You can all bring that data. So there are the Fabric also support all the different tools like Data Factory, data engineering, data science, data warehousing workload. So you can build these pipelines to bring the data from other sources, right? So I'll go through some experience here in a quick thing. This is not a detailed demo. We'll plan to do some more detailed demo as well. But let me first show how the data from the Dataverse shows up. So if I go on this tab where I have this, Lakehouse opened. So this is the Dataverse data into the Fabric workspace. It's loading my Lakehouse. I can see all the tables, are already here. So this is all, and you can also see there's a link button here. So these are not copied into the data, into the Fabric. These are shortcut created to Fabric. So these, like, as the data get updated in the Dataverse, the data is available to query into the Fabric through this shortcut, right? The next thing I did is, getting this legacy data into the Microsoft Fabric, right? So for that scenario, so my Dynamics data is already pumping into the, I just click this setup, and it's already getting replicated into the Lakehouse, in the Dataverse, and available in the Lakehouse. Now I can bring the data from other legacy sources. In this example, I have this pipeline, which basically bring the data from other sources. So in my example, I have the Azure SQLs where my data is residing, and I'm basically loading that data through this pipeline into the Lakehouse. And once the data is loaded, what I can see is, let me go back here. Let me go back to the Lakehouse itself. Once the data, I was able to execute that simple pipeline to load the data. So once the data loads here, this is the Lakehouse of my legacy ERP data. And in this, I have these, the tables from my legacy ERP data available. And as you can see here, there is no link here. In this scenarios, I'm loading this data in one lake, right? So this is Delta table. I can go and see the files, with just right click, I can see these are all Parquet files. I can query this data using the notebook, or I can switch the data, and go to the SQL endpoint and query through the SQL. So these are all features of the Fabric, how it has integrated the SQL and Lakehouse worlds in a single, pane. So next, what I'm going to do is how do we combine all these data together for final reporting in BI, right? So in my case, what I have is a workspace called Contoso Sales Analytics. So remember, I started with a Dynamics data, Dynamics 65 data, sales data, and ERP data, being shortcut to the Fabric. It's in this Lakehouse. I have legacy data. Now I have created a Lakehouse in a new workspace. So Contoso Sales Analytics workspace. And here I have a Lakehouse called Sales Silver. Note that there are some, sales table, account, contact. These are the tables from the Dataverse. And you notice that this is again shortcut. So these are not copied. So data is still remain into the Dataverse. It got created as a shortcut in this Lakehouse, and it has all the tables. So I have, all the tables which I have added from FNO, and all the Dataverse tables are already there. But I wanted, for my reporting team, because this is sales report, I'm just focused on the tables which I want, right? So I don't have to copy this data. I can go and here and create shortcut and select Microsoft OneLake and go back to, these workspace and select the table I want. I already done for the ERP piece. Let me do this for the legacy ERP data. So in this case, I selected legacy ERP. Now I'm going to be presented with, the shortcut for all the, the legacy ERP data. So these are already in the Delta. I have already loaded them into the Delta tables, right, through my pipeline. And this experience is basically just creating shortcut. It's not copying the data. So we are creating a shortcut from the, another workspace to this new workspace where I'm basically trying to combine the data, for my final reporting. So this is my silver layer where I have the data from ERP, CRM, my legacy data, and these are still in the same raw format, but I have a more structured and clean area where all my tables related to this domain of the reportings are available, right? Now, the next thing is, again, as Aman showed, like you can use the notebooks, you can use the, in other examples, we have shown how you can use the T-SQL capabilities if you're using the data warehousing, virtual data warehousing concepts and things like that. You can do all that things in here, right? So right now, let me show you this. Right now, I'm in the Lakehouse mode. I can right-click a table and create a new notebook in the Fabric. And just like this, I can query this data, right? I can, and my notebook start instantaneous. It's already linked to my Silver. It created me a code where I can, select this data, run this query right away here, and within seconds, it will, run this query and display the result, right? I can also switch to from the Lakehouse mode to SQL endpoint mode and query the data using the T-SQL. So the same data is available to query using the notebook, or same data is available to query using the T-SQL queries. Here, I'm in the legacy ERP data. I'm in the T-SQL mode within the portal. You can see here, it's a SQL endpoint. I can connect here and write a query saying that, select top 100 in this table, right? So this is where I'm querying this data through the T-SQL. Over here, I was querying the data through the Spark notebook. As you can see here, the Spark notebook, I was able to query this data. Other things you can also do is like not just you can also connect to a SQL endpoint. As you can see here, if I come here into the data warehouse workload and click on this gear button, I have a SQL connection string. And this SQL connection string is basically the connection string which I can use into the SQL Server Management Studio and query the data using the SQL Server Management Studio. This is all part of the Fabric ecosystem where you can, without copying the data, you can query the data where it lives without having to move the data using any of your familiar tools, either the notebook or the SQL Server Management Studio or any things which can connect to SQL, right? So in this case, you can see that like I'm just expanding here the Silver database and all the things which I have shortcut, including the the account tables and all of that things is already here, right? And I can use query this data using the T-SQL. The next thing I want to do is, from the Silver, how do you produce this as this gold in the Fabric world, right? So similar, exact same step. What Aman was doing, he has a notebook, and in that notebook, he has scripts, T-SQL scripts to transform that data and save that data back, in a fact and dimensions, to a gold gold layer of the Fabric, right? So in this scenario, I have the same concept. Here I'm connected to the Silver Lakehouse, and I have the same concept. Like if any of you have seen the demo of the first virtual data warehousing, the same dimension tables which I created on the T-SQLs, now I can use the same T-SQL scripts I can use as a Spark SQL and save this data to a gold database. So gold Lakehouse. So here what I'm doing is, I'm basically running this query, getting this in a data frame, and then writing this data back to a sales Lakehouse gold customer data. Now, if I go back to my SQL Server Management Studio, you can think of, this gold database. You see here the gold database. It has that gold dimensions already saved here, right? And that's basically kind of the key thing here. Like we are able to get the data from the dynamics. We are able to get the data from different ERPs, other ERP systems, able to use the data engineering and data warehousing workload in the Fabric and able to combine the data. And then the last part, you want to build report on this, right? So here is another things about the Fabric. And the part of the Fabric is, it's not just the data engineering and data warehousing workload and data science workload. Even the analytical workload like Power BI can be powered from here. So as example, I just have the customer name. I haven't created all other facts, but let me show like how can I create a report directly from the portal using just this simple gesture, right? And this gold data, is materialized. It's a conformed dimensions. Now I'm building a Power BI report on top of this data. And this Power BI report is a direct lake mode. So I'm not importing the data back into the Power BI. It's Power BI is directly reading this data from the Delta tables, which was there in the customer dimensions, right? And you get the same, performance as you get into a import mode. I have here as you see here, like I think there were 2 million rows here, at least. Yep. So around 1.8 million rows, is showing up in here. Let me see if I can do some more. And this report which got built into this is very interactive. I have a lot of customers in Japan. Probably this demo data, we created a lot of customers in Japan, in the US. So you can see the power of this. Like from Fabric, you're using a single tool, and the way your data from the Dynamics is going back into the Fabric is few clicks. And then you can bring all the rest of the data from the other systems. You can still keep most of your logic, which you use to build your dimensions and fact and data transformations as is into the Fabric, and take advantage of all the new capabilities and simplifications of a SaaS platform. So that was the, I think the core things I wanted to show end to end, how the Fabric works. And so what you saw is like we linked the Fabric from Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 data was already there. We loaded the data from other systems. We combined that data and use Power BI reports on top of the same data, right? Without having to duplicate the data. We use data engineering, notebook experiences. There are many other experiences in this world which can work on the same data. The next thing is call to actions. So in here, what the key thing is, as we have discussed last time, learn about upgrade and improvement. Like we have these sessions covered. We had, this is our 4th sessions on this series. And so learn about upgrade and improvement, which are coming with the Synapse link and Fabric links, and configure a test environment and give it a try. The transition guidance, which we have been talking through in this 4-part transition series, is also available on the GitHub. You can directly go to that link through this. You can join the community, YAML group, Synapse link for Dynamics, KMS, and where we do weekly office hours on every Tuesday and 11 a.m. PST. So join those. We discuss about upcoming features, new improvements coming, and things like that. So stay engaged. And we have a very vibrant community there, around 3,000 plus, customers and partners. So join that group and, discuss, bring your, ideas and suggestions, and directly communicate with your fellow community members. Plan transition, right? If you are using export to data lake today, so plan for transition. If you are planning to go live soon, you can adopt Synapse Link very easily. Any of the path, any of the architecture patterns which you have been thinking so far is supported, and there is a very minimal change from export to data lake, right? So that's the key thing, is to realize the benefit of transition with simplified reporting with Delta Lake format, simplify the data integrations. You might have saw the journey, with export to data lake, you have to export data, you have to use CDM util to create all the views and everything, and then have to do a lot of things there to with the Synapse link and Fabric link, we are simplifying that data integration. In the Synapse link, you just set up your experience with few clicks and use Synapse tools. In Fabric link, you don't even have to own anything in the Azure. You just have to go, you have to have a Fabric, which is SaaS product. You have to have the Dynamics, which is, I believe you all have. So you just link them together, and the data is basically not getting copied over to the Fabric. It's remaining in the Dataverse ecosystem and governance boundary, but it's available for to query and transform with all the tools which are available in the Fabric. And that's the thing. You can optimize your architectures. You can move your existing architecture in the Fabric, but you can also optimize it further as you go, as there are so many tools and capabilities in the Fabric. So with that, Melinda, anything to add?
No, JJ, this is excellent, and thank you for a lot of great questions in chat. We may have a few minutes to take on questions.
Yeah, I see some of the questions, the Fabric link, and especially the trial environment. I'm not sure about the trial environment if you can move to a different, but what I have done in my setup, which I was demoing, I actually have created a fabric capacity. So if you notice, one of my environment is in Canada, my fabric trial is in the US, but I created a very small F2 capacity in Canada region. I can go and show that. And F2 is, very economical. You can pause it as well, when you're not using. So it's I think around list price is around $200 or $300 per month if you keep it on 24/7. But if you are just trying it out, and then you can pause it when it's not in use, right? So what I have done is I created this fabric capacity in the Canada, and so that I can create my Dynamics environment, which is in Canada, to create the shortcut. There is a strict rule now, with the fabric link that your environment and the capacity has to exist in the same region, right? So as you can see here, I have created a fabric capacity, and this is F2 capacity. I can pause it if I'm not using, but the cost of the F2 capacity is quite economical, so you can use that options to do that. I'm not sure, do you know, Melinda, if there is a way to move or split your trial to another region? Or
so the trial documentation, if you look at Microsoft Fabric, it talks about how you can create a trial. There are 2 or 3 ways of creating a trial, and depending on how you create it, like for an example, you can create a workspace, and in that workspace you can add a Fabric workload, and then at that point it asks, hey, would you like to get a trial capacity for this workspace? So there's a couple of different ways. I don't want to go into the details here, but you can get trial capacities in many regions. There may be limitations in some regions, of course. So as JJ mentioned, you can get a trial capacity. You can also get a Dataverse developer environment for free. And if you are doing a POC, that's a great way to get started. You don't have to probably spend anything. If at all, you may have to invest in a small Fabric capacity to get started. But doing a POC and trying some of these ideas is very inexpensive. JJ, there is also a question. I think there's 2 or 3 questions around this, but I think the crux of it is, I think several of them are asking, can I directly save FNO tables into Delta Parquet and use near real-time reporting in Fabric? I think we've answered by saying, yes, you can do that very easily. You can choose FNO tables in Synapse Link. You can directly convert to Delta Parquet format. And that data is available directly in, you can think of it as the silver layer, right? I think if you can add a little bit more on that, JJ, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I think that's a good question. And, what we are doing, as you can think of, is as you set up this Fabric link, or even Synapse link for that matters, and you selected the Delta conversion, we are converting your Delta converting your data into Delta Parquet format in near real time, right? And that data is easily available for reporting. Some of the challenges which you had with directly accessing the CSV data with export to data lake, like read-write contention, some of those kind of things goes away, because Delta is a format which is which provide ACID, atomicity properties, right? So you can directly build report on that silver layer. However, you're basically building a report on that layer of the table schema, right? So, but many cases, you want to just show a dashboard of how many orders, every hours are coming and things like that. It's easy to build. I mean, you're not joining too many tables. You're not worried about, the full start schema. But when you're building an analytical report, then you go build, start schema model, and so that you can build an analytical data model. But when you're doing operational report, you can directly use a silver layer to build report on top of it.
Excellent. I think if I may highlight one last question, Rich, I think there was a question maybe related to what Aman presented. I think somebody was asking, okay, when you talk about the silver layer, it's clear you can use it for operational reporting, and that data is already in a format that is available for querying. But the question is about the gold layer. And the question is the gold layer materialized in Data Lake, or is it still serverless? If you can explain that a little bit more.
We showed in the notebook as well that with a single line of code, you can save that dim table or a fact table as a lake database table in a separate Delta folder, which is storing files as a Delta file. So, as you can see, that is getting materialized. It is a good option if you have a lot of complex joins, a lot of transformations, and you want to store it. And that is the whole idea of lake databases. They are, at the end of the day, Delta files, but then they have the structure of your star schemas, of your data warehouses. So that's definitely materialized. The other option is to keep it as a view. And in my notebook, I have some views, but I'm using them on the fly just to create some joins and understand what's happening with the data and then do something with it. So you get a lot of flexibility.
Yep. And I think the key thing is like even in the Synapse side, the same concept. Like when you create a lake databases, the data is available through T-SQL endpoints as well as, which is popularly known as Synapse serverless, as well as a Spark. So you can use both modes depending on your scenarios. Like when you're doing the data transformation using the notebook, you can use the same data sets, in the notebook. If you're using doing transformation through T-SQL, right? If you're coming from the SQL Server background, you might have some existing code which does the transformation for you. So you can utilize that using the T-SQLs, right? So the same data can be shaped in two different ways. And the same concept applies in the Fabric. It's just more integrated, the same data, once it is in Delta Lake format, it's available everywhere with every engine which Fabric support, including Power BI. There was a questions, Khalid, I noticed that you had special character in one of the tables. I thought Delta Parquet format does not support special characters and tables are created with varchar. So varchar always supports, special characters. So special characters are supported by the UTF format. UTF-8 data is already stored. So special characters, Chinese, Japanese, any of those things are supported in the Fabric. The difference between nvarchar and varchar is how many bytes the data is stored in. Nvarchar is multi-bytes, so it's store, reserve 4 characters for every bytes. Varchar is a single byte thing, so it's like if you say it's varchar 20, your data has to be 20 bytes. That's the only difference.
One final question, JJ, before we do adjourn, related to the relationship between all of our Synapse Link and Fabric Link materials that we've been discussing today. What is the relationship between this and existing reporting capabilities? How does this impact the use of existing Dynamics reports?
Oh, yeah, existing Dynamics report, I mean, they are still there. So if you have SSRS reports within the applications, electronic reporting, or including Power BI embedded, we have not done anything on that yet, but that should be something we'll be looking forward in the future. Power BI embedded is like the report within the FNO application. They're still there. Something will probably come in the futures to move that to this new ecosystems to utilize. Linda, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. The existing reports will continue to work. As you can tell, essentially we're making it easier and easier for you to create more reports, more experiences. And as you can tell, also, there's a lot of new features that are being built.